Hello and welcome to a special edition of Across the Park podcast. It is a match preview, Everton versus Leicester City under the lights at Goodison Park on Saturday evening. Absolutely delighted to be joined by Chris from Leicester Till I Die TV. Chris, thanks for coming on. First of all, how are you doing?
I'm not so bad, but thank you very much for inviting me and having me on.
No, I'm looking forward to talking a little bit, maybe memories of last time we played each other and how the season's gone so far and who we think the danger men may be.
Do we have to?
I think to make me feel better, maybe, now you've hit a bit of form, I think I'd like to maybe revisit some previous games. But I've mentioned there, Chris, that you have hit a little bit of form. From the outside looking in, which I definitely am, I'm really surprised to see you in the relegation zone. Now, I know there's a lot of games left to play, but I was looking at the start of the season. Brentford a draw, Arsenal a loss. There's no real shame in that. But then we start hitting Southampton, beating you at home. Then we look at Manchester United, the Brighton results, the Tottenham results. What happens? Because from the outside in, you're a lot better than these results are showing.
Yeah, it's been probably, it's officially the worst start of any team in the Premier League. We have that privilege now of holding that, but it has been almost like a perfect storm that's come together. And if basically something could go wrong, it has gone wrong. You start off with the fact that we weren't able to buy anybody.
Okay.
Now a lot of people are looking at and going, "Oh, Leicester City going bust and their owner's in trouble." And basically, in a way, our owner, his father died a few years ago in the horrific crash. Yeah. He's trying to run a tourism business, which is what King Power is. It is, hotels and duty free. During COVID, which basically decimated the travel business. So unless he goes home at the weekend, digs a hole in his back garden and strikes oil, we're not we're not going bust. There's no way. We've got the money to expand the stadium. We've got the money to expand the business part that we're going to be doing around the stadium. But that's just a different pot. You can't use that. And we are trying to compete with the likes of, the last couple of seasons, we finished fifth twice, and we're trying to compete with the big boys, but we have this trouble with FFP. Is that, Manchester United, a huge stadium, even when we've had our 8,000 seat expansion, they're still double the size of us. So we have to be very, very careful with FFP. We managed to get away with it last season, and believe it or not, the European UEFA FFP is actually harder and tighter than the FA's.
Yeah.
So, the owners looked at it, and we've been warned, as have West Ham, as have Man City, but obviously Man City are Man City, so they can get away with anything. We were all warned about our FFP. So the owners have had to look at that, quite rightly think, well, hang on, if we want to get into Europe again next season, if we don't do something, we are going to be absolutely battered by the FFP. We've got 27 players. We can only register 25. So what's the point of bringing players in when we can't play them? So we ended up, and unfortunately, it wasn't, had we known this at the start of the season, we'd have all gone, fair enough. But it didn't come out until sort of deadline day game against Man United. Brendan Rodgers didn't realise he was hung out a little bit. But that was the position. We could go and bat and buy a load of players, but then what's the point? We're buggering up FFP, and we've got, players that we like Barcelona signing a load of players that we can't register, but we can't play. Or we do what Leeds United did, which was gamble everything at getting into Europe, and then look what happened to them. Then we had, in fairness, Brendan was a little bit upset at the start of the season. And looking back, I get it. Then we had the Wesley Fofana situation.
Yeah.
How can I put this? I can't put it politely. The guy's a dickhead. And as I said, I hope he breaks his leg and he's out for a couple of seasons.
Am I right in thinking he really pushed that move through? He down tools.
He down tools totally. You're looking at Tielemans, who wants to move on and play, and I get it. He's good enough to play Champions League football. Doesn't want to sign a new contract, but he's giving his all. He doesn't always play well. He has bad games, but he gives his all when he's on the pitch. And Wesley Fofana wouldn't play. So that Southampton game, he sat in the stands. James Maddison scores a goal. He doesn't even look up from his phone. He doesn't applaud, he didn't do anything. So there's so much, I believe, bad feeling in the dressing room that didn't help. Plus, you're going to regret asking this question now, aren't you? This will be the show over.
It's interesting because, like, from the outside, I don't know a lot of in-depth things.
And the other thing as well, our business plan at Leicester is we as a club don't have to sell. But we will sell if we're going to make a bit of money. Harry Maguire to Man United, Chilwell to Chelsea. We're bringing these players in either through the youth system or good value, like with Harry Maguire, and then selling them on for a vast fortune. And Harry Maguire, he came to us and said, "Guys, I've got a year left on my contract. You've rescued me from Hull. I want to do, I want to stand by the club, but I want to move on. I want to play. I'm in England's team, etc. Let me sign a new contract, put a load of clauses in, so at least you'll get some money for me. And that's why we were able to get 80 million for him.
Crazy.
We were looking at doing that with Tielemans. It didn't happen because we didn't have the best of seasons last season, so we didn't have that big influx of money from the one big sale that we made. But like I say, we don't have to, but that's the plan. That's our sort of financial game plan. So we then had a set piece coach who couldn't get a visa. We then had a head of recruitment from Southampton, who Southampton wouldn't let join us until after the transfer window closed. I mean, it was just a catalogue of disasters. And of course, that did, looking back, we didn't necessarily appreciate it at the time, but it ruined the start of the season for us. We're finally looking to turn that round. We're beating clubs that are thereabouts with us. So the Forests, we didn't lose to Palace.
Wolves,
we beat Leeds, we beat Wolves. Those are the games that you need to win if you want to stay in the pact. And when you look at it, you guys are, you say, oh, we're 12th, we're sat quite comfortable. You're only 3 points off the relegation zone.
So tight. Chris, I'm not going to lie to you. You may have been through this. I was having sleepless nights at the end of last season because I think that's a trapdoor, isn't it? If you go down, and I don't think you're in any trouble. I think it's a lot better what the table shows. But I think my next question would be: have your ambitions changed now from what they were in the summer as a fan?
Yes, of course they have. They have to. I am looking now. If we finish 17th, I'm going to be happy. Yeah. I've got to look. We've got January. I don't know whether we'll be able to sign anybody in January because, like I said, the situation that we found ourselves in.
Is the full money not there though? Is the £70 million not ready to be spent? Do you not think? Or
we've got that money because we've got the money from Fofana.
Yeah,
we've got a great replacement in Face, but again, it's having the money to spend is one thing. Sticking within FFP rules is another. And we've still got 26, 27 players where we can only register 25. So we don't know how it's gonna approach. It's a weird season with the World Cup and everything anyway. Yeah. But yes, if we finish 17th this season, I'll be ecstatic because once you drop, as you've just said, when you face that drop, the money that and Burnley, if you look at Burnley, they're doing excellent, at top of the championship, but that's no guarantee. It's a tough division down there, and that's why The latest rumours regarding Tielemans are that a couple of clubs are maybe going to come in January. We, as said, we're not going to sell Tielemans in January because we'd sooner lose him at the end of the season for no money because his contract will have run out. We will probably get 26 million for him if we sell him in January. We will lose more than 26 million if we get relegated to the Championship.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And he is potentially our best player. When he is on form, look at the shot against Man City. When he's on form, he could be the difference between us staying up and going down. So it's a gamble. It's a gamble worth taking.
It's a very similar situation to us last season with Richarlison. Now Richarlison was always, and some Everton fans watching this might not like me saying this, but he was always going to go on to a better situation. I don't like saying a bigger club because that's a whole new thing, but a better situation. And there was a real big chance for Everton to sell him before they did, and it was invaluable what he'd done at the end of last season for Everton. He and a number of other players, 2 or 3, dragged this club over the line. So I get what you're saying. Maybe to keep Tielemans opposed to putting money in the bank and trying to go again is the best scenario. But again, that leads me on to the next question, Chris. Is this Leicester team of the last 12 to 24 months, is that now breaking up? Because I'm looking at Soyuncu. I haven't seen him much apart from he came in recently. Jamie Vardy is getting old. Maddison's always linked away. Kasper Schmeichel has gone. Are we looking at a whole new era about to begin for Leicester now, or do you need that?
I think you get that with any. I don't want to use the word successful but for Leicester it is success what we've had. In the last, within the last 10 seasons, we've won the Premier League, we've won the FA Cup, we've been in Europe 3 times, we got to the semi-final of the European competition, we're only going out by 1 goal. For Leicester, that is success.
Mate, that's success for a lot of clubs.
Okay, I guess it is indeed. But you've got to look at it. Look at Fergie at Man United. Look what he was winning and winning and winning, but he was refreshing his squad as he went along. And had we not had this FFP problem, that's what Brendan Rodgers wanted to do. He had a load of signings ready that were interested in coming, and the chairman went like, "Sorry guys, we can't do it at the moment." Kasper, he had to go, unfortunately. He had a season left on his contract. Last season, he was awful. And I love Kasper to bits. I'd have his babies if he was here now. I love him to bits. But I'm being realistic. Every player has their use-by date, if you like. And his was up. And at the start of the season, I said, sell him and promote Danny Ward. All right, he had a bad start, but he's now, apart from we restricted Man City, 35 goals, biggest goal scorers in the league this season. We restricted them to 16 shots and only 5 on target. And only 1 of them went in, which was a wonder goal. So it's all working out. Jamie Vardy, we are seeing the twilight of his career. There's no doubt about it. We've got Daka ready to come through.
Yeah.
Jamie Vardy, he's 35 odd now. Do you know what I mean? And there are times, like for the Man City game, where you've got to put him in the team because of his history against these teams. But generally speaking, I think you're going to see Jamie Vardy more being used as a super sub. And Daka will be starting. And after 70 minutes, because Daka's fast, he's not a slouch by any stretch. And at 70 minutes, you got knackered defenders, and they thank God Daka's going off. And then you'll be looking up and go, oh shit, Jamie Vardy's coming on. Because what he can do in that last 20 minutes. Do you remember Craig? I don't know if you remember, was it Craig Fairclough at Liverpool, super sub? He was the first super sub. That kind of, I think, where Jamie Vardy is going. Johnny Evans, yes, he's getting on a bit. And when he gets injured, it takes him a little bit longer. Soyuncu, we're all confused.
What's happened to him? Because I remember 2 or 3 years ago, I was thinking they have signed a centre half there. And then I got to thinking at the start of the season because he wasn't playing, and I thought, maybe he's gone abroad. Then I see him again last week, and I hear Brendan Rodgers comment saying, well, he has to be ready. in case we need him again. And that reads to me again from the outside that there's problems between club and
There
player.
is. There's problems there. Brendan, if I say Brendan's stubborn, it's probably the biggest understatement that's ever been said in world football. And when he's made his mind up, he's made his mind up. Okay. Not unlike Nigel Pearson. Soyuncu came to England. He took him about a year to settle in. So when he came in, Harry Maguire was just going to start his last season. That season, he settled in. He got used to England, the language, etc. And he was brilliant. We didn't miss Harry Maguire, bless him. Soyuncu was brilliant. And if you believe the song, he's got a bigger appendage than Maguire as well. But he then went to the World Cup. He was Turkey's poster boy. Turkey went into that. Sorry, what World Cup? Was it the Euros?
European.
He went into that, and Turkey were one of the outsiders, and they qualified with a great defensive record. He was the poster boy, and it all went wrong for Turkey. They lost the 3 games. They didn't get out the group. He had a really bad time, and then he came back into a team that last season we had nearly 30 injuries during the season, one point or another. 19 of those were to defensive-based players. We were playing we didn't know what the formation was going to be. It was a case of we played 3 at the back if we had 3 fit defenders, 4 if we could manage to get 4. And Soyuncu was playing when he shouldn't have been playing. He was sort of fit, but he wasn't that match fit, if you like. But we hadn't got anybody else, so we had to play. And then, apparently he wasn't doing very well at training. But he did a good job against Man City. We'd love to see him back, but Brendan says, he was linked with moving away. It turned his head. So we will see. He's got a year left on his contract. Who knows? But I could possibly see him going, but I would love to see him stay, because when he is on form, on that left side of a back 3 or left of the 2 centre backs, he is a great option.
Yeah, I mean, we will move on, Chris, to previewing the game. Just before we do that, the fixture Everton v Leicester. When someone says that to you, are there any sort of moments or memories that spring to mind? I've got a couple. I mean, the one for me, obviously Everton orientated. I think last season at the King Power, that was a massive victory for Everton. It took us out the relegation zone and the away end. I don't know if you were there. They stayed for 10, 15 minutes. They were loud, and it was a massive game. Another image that comes to my mind is of Duncan Ferguson getting Stefan Freund by the throat in 2004. Are there any images or games that come to your mind straight away when you think of this fixture?
The funny thing, the thing that really does spring to mind for me, and thanks for reminding me about that loss last season. I appreciate that. Funnily enough, is the link we've got with Gary Lineker.
Of course, yeah.
I was at school with the guy, and obviously saw him progress through the club and everything. And of course, he went on to Everton. Yeah. I don't particularly remember. There's no games that sort of spring out to mind. I don't, not like an FA Cup tie or anything like that. But Everton, they're just the team that have always been there. You know what I mean?
I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, Chris, to be honest.
Well, you're still here, so it must be a good thing. I mean, you had David Moyes. And what a manager! What he did, he kept you there, and you last season. I think a lot of people wanted you to go down last season.
Of course, I'd be the same if I was an opposition fan. Of course,
simply because you are Everton, and
funny. It would be funny.
You are the club that you've got the big 6. There's on about now possibly going to be big 7 with Newcastle, and I hate the term, but it's there. But Everton were always the club that should have been knocking on that door.
Yeah. With the poster boy for "Don't Do It This Way" with a billionaire owner, the poster boy for that.
You are. Unfortunately, having a rich owner is not always a good thing.
It's like giving one of your kids the debit cards on payday and sending them into a shop. That this owner has only very recently been reined in. Before then, there were signings that we made. 45 million on Gylfi Sigurdsson. Wayne Rooney came back at nearly 33 on a record deal, and there's players who are still there. Andre Gomez, Michael Keane. We paid 30 million pound for Yannick Bolasie. There's been money, just like it's been ridiculous. But do you know one game I did think you were going to say, and I'll let you have this one because I've given you the defeat last season. I thought you were going to say the Saturday evening game where you lifted the Premier League and beat us 4-1.
I had actually, believe it or not, I had forgotten that.
Do you know why I say that? Because I remember on social media at the time, there were Leicester fans trying to buy Everton away end tickets because it was such a big thing to get in that ground for you.
I was one of those, and there was lots of Everton fans selling tickets, to be honest with you, and I don't blame them. It was a dead end game really for Everton. I'd had a season ticket up to the season before because I live on the south coast, so it's quite a journey for me to go around.
Okay.
I'd had a season ticket through the Great Escape year, and I thought, God, I can't do this again. 8 hours return journey every day to watch us struggle.
The next season.
I gave my season ticket away. So I will take the credit for us winning the Premier League. But I had to be totally honest with you. Had I think you'd asked, I'd known you were going to ask me that, I would have probably sort of thought about that. But on the spot, I had forgotten. I managed to get a ticket for that. It's a case of who you know, not what you know sometimes. And thankfully, I was able to get a ticket. I was in tears. I was hugging a guy that I've never seen before, never seen since. Next to me, Andrea Pacelli singing. It was weird because I think the one thing that was a little bit of a disappointment was that we'd won it before that because of the Spurs Chelsea.
It was at Chelsea, wasn't it? Yeah.
So it wasn't like we'd won it because if we'd beaten Man United the game before, because I was in a pub I live in Poole in Dorset, and I was in a pub. There was me and my son in a Leicester top, and everybody else in a Man United top. And we were watching this game, and I thought, hang on, and Man United went 1-0 up. I thought, I felt a bit safer then. We equalised. And I think, oh God, we could do this. And at the end of the game, it was 1-1. We didn't win it. And almost to the Man United fans were going, go outside, beat Everton next week and lift the trophy.
Yeah.
Everybody's sort of favourite second club. That was the one disappointment that we couldn't actually do it ourselves, if you like. But it was a minor little problem. You're
right in what you're saying. I remember that season. It was the 15-16 season. I remember the whole country. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think you beat Man City away, and everybody said that's it. It's got Leicester are actually going to do it, and everyone got behind it. And I remember I think you brought the country together when Tottenham failed.
It was an amazing. Unless you were a Tottenham fan, because Arsenal came through at the end of the year and finished second. But unless you were a Tottenham fan all season, you wanted Leicester to do it because of the story. I went into my local bank in Bournemouth, and I just had a coat on with a badge on, Leicester badge there. And the woman behind the counter went, Leicester City, Jamie Vardy, Riyad Mahrez. I went, yeah, she you're having a good season. I said, brilliant. I said, who's your team? She I hate football. But she knew that, and it was honestly. I'd obviously do the YouTube and the shows and what have you, and we were getting calls from. I did a show from Australia, New Zealand. I'm ringing a fellow podcaster and said, look, I've got Japan Radio or whatever it was on the phone. I can't fit them in. Can you do it on Wednesday? And he goes, well, I can do that for you, but can you help me out on Friday and speak to Canadian radio? And it was absolute chaos. But honestly, whether it will ever happen again, I don't know. But I think it gives clubs like the Evertons and even like the Burnleys and clubs that are further down the belief that it can happen. And I think it was the funny thing was that season was the season Bournemouth had got promoted to the Premier League. 10 seasons before that, they were on -17 in the 4th tier. This was an amazing story, but it got forgotten because of what Leicester did. I will never think. I mean, I've got the Premier League trophy behind me. I can't believe that I've seen it in my lifetime. I can die a happy man. That's all I can say.
Because a lot of fans, probably me included, would swap in a heartbeat for the success that Leicester team had. But let's move to the current day. Just the perception, really, of not only yourself, but maybe the fan base. Now, I always say I don't talk with the fan base. I imagine you're the same. But what I do perceive on Everton socials and Everton fan accounts is, and I believe this to be wrong, I think Everton fans do expect, maybe because of where you are in the league, that Everton are going to win this game on Saturday night, and it's one of those. Yeah. I'm not quite there. I think you're still a dangerous team with dangerous players. What's the perception of the Leicester fan base going to Goodison Park? Are you thinking, do you see your fans thinking Leicester will go and beat Everton, perhaps?
I think so, without not being funny, not lying. I think we look at this game, and it's got to be one we've got to consider winning. We know that virtually every other team in the division has improved, has brought players in, has got better. We haven't. Like I say, we've basically still got the same squad. It's a good squad. It's the squad that won us the FA Cup a few seasons ago. But you look at the way we started the season. There was every excuse under the sun that was being used. We look at Everton. And, we look at a team that last season, as you said, only, managed to stay up, by maybe not by the skin of your teeth, but it was pretty close.
So the last game of the season was Sunday and we stayed up on a Thursday night. It was very close, Chris, very close.
We could actually, if we were to beat you by 4 goals, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we're going to, but if we were, we would actually jump you in the league.
Yeah.
That's how close it is.
Yeah.
And these are games that we should be winning. Like I say, because, if we'd beaten Manchester City, obviously it would have been fantastic, but you need to beat the teams that are around you. That said, I'd sooner be playing the red half of Liverpool this weekend than the blue half, because I think that would be easier.
Hey, that's hilarious. I think we both agree that's absolutely hilarious what's happening over there.
Oh, I've been on I do a watch along and with a Liverpool fan, and he comes on mine and I go on his for the watch along, and I said, Nottingham Forest, you couldn't bloody beat them for us. Leeds, you couldn't bloody beat them for us.
Yeah.
So. And I think the thing with Everton is, and I'm not being disrespectful here, it's just like I say, how outside people, fans perceive it, is whether you've got the right man to take you forward, whether Frank Lampard is the right manager to take you forward.
He's the. Do you know what? For a connection point of view, he's the right man, because we had. I don't even like saying this man's name. We had Rafa Benitez as the manager.
Yes.
What he done is he came in with really, really strong red colours, and he then tore up a Carlo Ancelotti team that were doing quite well. And all of a sudden, you lose Luca Dean, you lose James Rodriguez, you've got Rafa Benitez playing, a defensive shape. It was just a horror. And I don't know whether you know this, but there were protests in January. Fan bases were at Goodison. They were protesting, and then Frank Lampard walks in, and I completely accept he's playing the game, but he played the game so well. He forged that connection with Evertonians. And what he's done is he's afforded himself good grace on a bad run. If he hits a bad run, he's afforded himself that good grace. And I think he's done that very, very cleverly. And I agree. I don't think Frank Lampard is arguably the best manager, or even in the top few best managers in the league. But I think what he's done for my club so far has been what we needed. The fan base was so fractured, Chris.
You need that fan base behind you. I mean, at the start of the season, our fan base wanted Rodgers out.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie, I wanted Rodgers out based on the form. Now, he's, like you say, he's earned enough to say, well, yeah, let's give him a little bit longer. He's earned that now.
Yeah.
Because we are fans, we analyse what it is. But, Rafa Benitez going to Everton, it's a bit like Clough going to Leeds. I was reading before the current owners took over, and Milan Mandrić was looking. We took on Ian Holloway, and one of the options that he was actually looking at was Neil Warnock, and we hate Neil Warnock at Leicester City. Mind you, I think most clubs probably do. But when it got out that we were looking at Neil Warnock to replace Martin Allen, there was not protest, but there was a real groundswell of like, we don't want him. And in fairness, Mandrić went, all right, then you don't want him, and we didn't get him. Benitez, he was too red. In fairness,
horrible. It was horrible, Chris. Honestly, I can't. I don't know how to. Without being disrespectful, I don't know enough about Leicester's history to compare what it could be. But it was like your ex-wife moving in next door with the fella she left you for.
Yeah,
your kids,
it was a weird. And don't get me wrong, I don't think he necessarily was a bad manager. Because when I looked at it from an outside point of view, I thought, yeah, you got a good choice there, Rafa. His experience, but when you delve into it more, like you say, the history was just too much to. And then when he comes in, a bit like Brian Clough going in and accusing all the Leeds players of cheating for the medals, he's ripping up a good tip. Yeah, it was wrong.
So the point is, I just think, Frank, I agree with what you're saying. I think Everton may encounter at some point this season a run of games where it goes a little bit Pete Tong, and maybe the pressure will ramp up at that point. But I'm not one of those fans who's against Frank. I don't think many are. I think he's the right man for now. Now, if we have a good season, and I don't think I'm delusional, so a good season for me would be if we land mid-table-ish. I think that would be a nice, safe season. I think he's then got to push the team on, and whether he can do that is the question.
I think with Frank, you've got to look at any manager improving your side season on season. I mean, that's pretty hard if you're a Man City, but you know what I'm saying. And it's like, that's the problem we were looking at with Leicester. We've got the same squad, but we're actually doing worse. We've taken steps backwards. Well, Frank kept you up last season.
Yeah.
And you've got to give him credit for that. If he gets you mid-table this season, it's an improvement.
100%.
And that you're going in the right direction. So, and maybe that will give him the experience that he'll get, and he could prove everybody wrong.
Yeah. Okay. So back to Saturday. We'll start winding the show down. We do appreciate, Chris, you coming on, giving us your time. But we'll try and wind it down with a look at the game on Saturday night with my Evertonian hat on. And you may laugh at this, and you may say, Ian, you're completely wrong. That's not how you do it. But I think to beat Leicester, we have to get at you early. We have to score an early goal, and we have to make your players start thinking maybe the Forest game, maybe the Wolves game with the one-offs. Now we're back in this mentality rut. For me, that's how Everton have to approach the game to win it. Is that fair? And as a counter, if you're looking at the game, how does Leicester go and win on Saturday evening for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've almost hit the nail on the head there, to be honest with you. I think more so if it was at Leicester and you scored early on, the crowd could get a bit restless. It's at Everton, and I mean, you've got a fantastic crowd there. The way the stadium is at the moment, it's the crowd get behind you. It is the proverbial 12th man. Yeah. I would have been more worried about that 5 or 6 games ago. But, we've not, apart from, say, a wonder free kick from De Bruyne, we haven't conceded in about 4 or 5 games. We're actually, in the third in the table in clean sheets for the Premier League. So suddenly it started to turn around. We've got this new set piece coaching. So before, at the start of the season, we'd almost say score an own goal. Because Leicester going ahead was like, well, that's it, we've lost. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, we're 1-0 up. Brendan goes defensive. We've lost this. Yeah. Now, it's not as clear cut as that at all. And even if you get, we saw against Man City, once they got that goal, it's a bit like poking the bear. And Brendan actually got everything right. He looked at it, he changed his tactics, and we were unlucky not to come away with the point. Yeah. Had Tielemans' shot been a couple of inches left or right, we would have got a point. So normally I would say yes, do get at us early. The the way I'm looking at it is that you're not safe, like I say at the moment. We've got 2 games before the World Cup. We've got to think of the psychological problem with being so far down the table when we're about to have a 4-week break. And we're going to look at that table every week for 4 weeks and say, oh, we're in the bottom 3. So we need this. We probably need this a bit more than you do, to be fair. I think, for me, what we've got to do is we've got to score early.
Okay.
And that will, I think, upset your fans a little bit.
It will, and you're right. I think if Leicester do come out and go at Everton, I think you've got enough players. I think Vardy, Dewsbury Hall, Harvey Barnes. I think there's enough players there to really cause Everton problems.
I think you're safe. I don't think Vardy will start.
Okay, I'm saying that because I thought he started last week. But do you think he'll
be? But we've got Newport midweek in the cup.
Okay.
And I think that's more of a game for him than this one is. Because, like I say, he can't play 90 minutes every week. So, against Man City, he was always going to start, but then again, it's Brendan. Who knows? But I hope he
doesn't. He has scored past us. I don't know off the top of my head his record past Everton, but it just feels like he always scores. I remember, Chris, there was a New Year's Day game a few years back, and for some reason, proper Everton, they made it 12:30. I sat there freezing, hungover. Vardy 1-0.
But of course, he also misses penalties against you, as in that game when we won the Premier League. So, he would have won the golden, or jointly won the Golden Boot if he'd got that.
Do you think Brendan will go for it? Do you think Brendan will go for it straight away like that?
He's got to. There's no. We are in 18th place. Like it or love it, the table doesn't lie. Thanks to Liverpool, we're in 18th place. He's got to go for it because a draw. All right, if it's 0-0, 1-1, you might say, a point away at Goodison, under the lights, it wasn't a bad result. But we need the 3 points, and you will look at this game, and you should be looking at this game and going, look at the form Leicester in. And all right, they've started to maybe get a few wins, but on paper, this is a winnable game for Everton.
Yeah.
But on paper, it's also a winnable game for Leicester, know. And when you're playing teams in the bottom half of the table, when you're in the bottom half of the table, those are the games you've got to win. And I think it could be really, really interesting.
I agree 100%. And I think for all the reasons you've said there, that Leicester could, with a certain result, leapfrog Everton. I think it's just as important game for Everton to win for those reasons. I really do. I think if Everton go inconsistently into this 4 or 5 week break, and we're looking at the table and we're saying there's only 2, 3, 4 points with the second half of the season to come. I think, Chris, honestly, I think it's just as important for Everton to win this. What I will do, Chris, is I'll give you my prediction, and if you give me yours after it, I'm going to go in full with my big blue heart. A goal either sides of half time, Everton 2, Leicester 0. What about you?
Funny you should mention that. You've won more games against us than we've won against you in the Premier League. So I have actually, though, gone that we've got West Ham up next, and this is the winnable of the 2 games for us. And I have actually gone 2-0 to Leicester.
Okay.
So
do you know what should be 2-2 now?
Yeah. Oh, 0-0. And then that's the match of the day. What I mean?
What I do, I think if any neutral fans are watching this, if you're in a YouTube hole, I think it'll be a good game to watch. I think both teams do have to win.
2 teams that need the points.
Yeah, I agree.
And it will be interesting to see what we both think on Saturday night at about 9:00.
Absolutely. We'll keep in touch. We'll give each other a message regardless of the result.
If you win, I'm not going to reply. I'll just warn you.
Just block me. Look, it's been great to have you on. If any Leicester fans have sort of joined on the hashtag and they're watching this and they don't follow Leicester Till I Die TV, get over to Twitter. It is Leicester TID on Twitter, and then a YouTube channel is on the link as well. If some Leicester fans are watching, Chris, and they haven't seen you before, what's coming up on your channel?
Tonight, well, as I say, in 50-odd minutes, I've got the press review of the press conference review, sorry. We're actually starting a new show on Monday nights at 9 o'clock. Believe it or not, with myself and a Nottingham Forest fan.
Okay, that sounds interesting straight away.
Exactly. We do get on, the two of us, so that is going to be, but it's just going to be a general chat and banter and wind each other up. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. We just put it that way.
I think I'll tune into that one. And if any Everton fans have joined on the hashtag somehow, we are Across the Park Podcast. Give us a follow on Twitter. It's at Across the Park PC. But Chris, I think we've come to a natural end. You've given us 40 minutes. I think we planned 20. It's been great to have you on.
I'm sorry, I do tend to talk on a little bit. I do apologise.
It's been great. It's been absolutely fantastic, Chris. It's been a pleasure. Like I said, we'll keep in touch throughout the season. I wish you nothing but the best apart from this Saturday.
Exactly. I agree as well. And I hope we play you next season.
Well, I don't want to confirm in case we finish 20th and 19th. So maybe we'll do a show in the second half of the season and I might agree to that.
Whichever division we're in, we'll be playing each other, hopefully.
Let's do it. Chris, absolute pleasure. Thanks for joining us in the Across the Park podcast.
Take care, mate. Thanks for having me on.